In this video, I'll be taking a client with a grade 2 right infraspinatus muscle strain through a rehab program whilst they're in the mid stage. The aim for this client is strength. Before taking them through the exercises, I had their consent to take part and film the videos. The first exercise we went through was banded external rotation. It suggested that low-intensity exercise for the infraspinatus muscle is effective for muscle hypertrophy when performed as slow movement. This finding may help patients who should avoid excessive stress in the early to mid phase of rehabilitation. I demonstrated this exercise and let my client know these key points. You have to make sure your elbow is at a 90 degrees angle and tucked in at your waist. On the concentric movement, when the arm moves out toward the body, you've got to keep the elbow tucked in. And on the eccentric, you have to keep tension on that arm and slowly bring the arm back into the stomach. I prescribed this client 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps and let them know that if it was too easy or too hard to step closer or further away from where the band was strapped onto the pin. Throughout this program, I was always asking my client how the exercises felt to make sure I knew whether to progress or regress. After completing the first exercise, we moved on to the regressions, the first one of these being an isometric banded external rotation hold. To do this exercise, I explained to my client to keep his elbow tucked towards his waist at a 90 degrees angle and externally rotate the band so his shoulder is under tension. I also made sure that his feet were close together to maintain a neutral body position. For this exercise, I set my client 10 sets of 10 to 15 seconds of isometric holds. The next exercise we moved on to was an isometric external rotation hold on the wall. Before demonstrating this exercise, I explained to my client these key points. To make sure he kept his feet together, he made sure his elbow was at a 90 degrees angle with it tucked in towards his waist, and make sure to put pressure onto the wall with the top of his hand, ensuring that his shoulder was under tension. I prescribed my client 3 sets of 10 to 15 seconds of isometric holds for this exercise. Next, we moved on to the progressions, the first one being a face pull into an ascending external rotation with shoulder press. Before demonstrating this exercise, I explained to my client that he has to make sure he keeps a horizontal pull back in the face pull, making sure he keeps his elbow at a 90 degree angle, and on the shoulder press, try hardest to keep a vertical upright position rather than going diagonally forward. I made sure to explain that if necessary to move further away or closer to the pin to make sure he's able to complete the full exercise. The 3 different movements is good for keeping the shoulder under tension for a longer period of time, and for this exercise I prescribed the client 6 to 8 reps for 3 sets. The final progression exercise we went through was a kneeling single arm dumbbell press. The unilateral aspect of this movement is a great way to develop stability and balance in the shoulder whilst also strengthening the muscles surrounding the shoulder. The coaching points I gave my client for this exercise was to make sure both knees sat at a 90 degree angle to maintain balance. Another coaching point I gave was to keep a neutral spine so you're stable in the whole movement. And the final coach point was to brace the core in the upwards movements. The body was solid for the duration of the exercise. For this exercise, I prescribed my client 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps.